But really, symptoms are our greatest gift because they tell us what our body needs. And infertility is a symptom. Our body is saying something is not safe right now, and we need to explore what it is and restore balance.
You're listening to the What the Gut podcast, where busy moms can come for a holistic approach to health and vitality. I'm Allison, your host, a holistic health and wellness coach. In this space, we'll dive into the intricacies of achieving holistic wellness while balancing the demands of daily life as a busy mom. What the Gut is your haven for navigating the challenges that come with juggling numerous tasks while aiming for a healthier, more balanced life. Join me as we uncover practical solutions to common health hurdles, from managing fatigue to understanding all things gut health. Through insightful discussions, actionable insights, and tailored lifestyle strategies, my goal here is to empower you to embrace a vibrant, nourishing life while saying goodbye to being overwhelmed and exhausted. So if you're ready to embark on this transformative journey towards holistic well-being, hit that subscribe button. Get ready to discover the secrets to thriving in motherhood while nurturing your overall wellness. A quick reminder, everything discussed here is for educational and empowering purposes only and is not intended for personalized medical advice. Consult your personal healthcare provider for personalized medical advice. Welcome to What the Gut, where we create our own path to holistic health, one episode at a time. Welcome back to What the Gut. Today, I am sitting down with Kara Becker, a certified health coach and functional medicine practitioner who has transformed her personal struggles with infertility into a powerful mission to help others reclaim their health and being. Kara's journey from IVF, loss, and experimental treatments to ultimately conceiving naturally completely changed how she approaches health, not just for fertility, but really for lifelong wellness. Now she helps others navigate their own fertility journeys and overall health from a functional perspective. I cannot wait to dive into her story, her sights on infertility, and how she helps women take back control of their bodies and lives. Kara, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Awesome. Kara, I would love to hear your story about infertility.
Sure. So it now is coming on maybe about 10 years ago at this point. I had been on birth control for many years, I don't know, 12, 13 years. And when I went off birth control, I noticed that I had no cycles. Being very antsy to get pregnant, we ended up doing IVF and conceived my son pretty quickly. So it wasn't really so stressful in the grand scheme of things. And then when we went for a second child, we assumed that things would go smooth and would be pretty straightforward again. I ended up getting pregnant on the first transfer, which is when they put one of the old embryos from the IVF the first time into my body. And I was pregnant and I experienced a loss at around 16, 17 weeks. So a second trimester loss was pretty devastating. It left me very depressed. I really didn't take any time to heal my mind or body. I decided that the only thing that would make me feel better was to get pregnant again. And so I jumped right back into fertility treatments. We ended up doing 2 additional rounds of IVF. We transferred 6 different embryos 6 different times. So all of this over the course of 1 to 2 years, and nothing worked, right? So now they were doing what had worked before and transferring the embryos, and I wasn't getting pregnant. And doctors had no explanations. They were pretty surprised. They started recommending these more experimental treatments, right? Trying to do it in different ways, take different protocols with different medications. To be honest, I didn't even know what I was taking half the time. I was just doing whatever they told me. I was a complete shell of myself. I feel like I neglected my 3-year-old son at that time. I just felt like a science experiment, like just, being poked and prodded. I was just in a really bad place. And it was around that time that I decided I really need to take a little more control here. Like, this doesn't make sense. Something's not adding up. I started to do research in more beneficial places. So I had been researching all of these like terrible statistics and what was wrong with me. And with Google,
Asking maybe the wrong question.
Google, you can find whatever you're looking for. So instead of like supporting this depressed state I was in, I started actually researching like what might be going on. I started to learn a lot about PCOS, which was a diagnosis that I had been giving, chronic inflammation, mitochondrial health. I just started learning a lot about egg quality. I just started really learning and immersing myself in what I could do to really have more control over this situation in the aspect of having a healthy diet, supporting my nervous system, optimizing my blood sugar. And I really took some charge there. I made a
Yeah.
lot of changes. I changed a lot of my mindset and my perspective and how I was really showing up every day for my fertility journey. And what ended up happening was I suddenly conceived naturally. And so I had my daughter. It was one of the biggest surprises of my life. It was a huge turning point in my life too, because not only did I now have this baby that I wanted so bad, but it really inspired me to make a career change, to shift into health coaching and functional medicine, and to really find a way to give back to other infertility patients, but women and people in general in the ways that I had felt like conventional medicine really lacked for me at that time.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. Like, it gives me chills. And I think anybody too, like on a fertility journey, like having a coach or somebody there to teach them some of these things that you learned along the way in combination with their provider, if their provider's not teaching them these things, like that's so important too.
Totally. I wish I had that. I think it would have made a big
Yeah.
difference for me too.
That's awesome. I know that you have mentioned that infertility changed really how you showed up as a parent. And
Mhm.
I'm curious, like, how has your experience really shaped the way that you raise your children, especially whenever it comes to just teaching them about health?
Yeah. I know you just mentioned in the bio, I had a pretty long fertility journey to conceive both my kids, but definitely my second. And I totally look at my daughter every day with gratitude and just so grateful to have her and that she's here. And I learned a lot about a gratitude practice, really, that it's so beneficial to our health and to our nervous system. And there's genuine research to support gratitude. So that's just like an underlying thing that I think about all the time and that I try to practice. In terms of just health and wellness with my kids, I really try to teach my kids in age appropriate ways. It's just always at the forefront of what we do. We don't make big deals of eat certain foods and then you get other foods, right? It's more just here's how we want to nourish our bodies. And we
Just
talk a
not
lot,
using not using food as a reward or something too. And
right?
how old are your kids?
I have a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Okay. I have a 10, 8, and 4-year-old. So
Same phase,
yes,
right?
yes.
Like we talk a lot about what are the benefits of protein? Why is that important? Carbs give us energy, but we want to pair our carbs with a protein for optimal performance. We want diversity in the microbiome. We talk about that in relation to plant points, like how many plant points can you get in a week? If you're going to eat your strawberries every day, that's only one plant point. But if you're going to have strawberries one day and blueberries the next day, and raspberries the third day, like you get 3 plant points. So they think a lot about that. They like
I
that.
love that. I love that idea.
Yeah, that one works really well. We have a new foods chart, so I like to put the control in their hands, right? So when you feel compelled to try a new food, we have a chart and they'll try the food and then they get to write down on the chart what they tried. They get to give it a score, like they rank it 1 to 4, and then they write, will they eat it again? Yes or no. And so
How
they feel
fun.
like really proud of their chart and they'll reference it. Oh, mom, I tried lamb chops last week and I liked it, so we'll have that again. That's
Yeah.
also been a really great tool for us.
Yeah, I love those ideas because it's like if you have this game that you have going on in your house or this chart system, no matter what it is, what kid doesn't want to like participate? You know what I mean? Even if it's not about the food at that point, it's like they want to be involved in
Right.
whatever it is. And that's a really good idea. Something that I did with my kids too for a while, and I can't remember why we stopped, but I used to have a printed out chart of like just a few different choices of like proteins, fats, healthy carbs, so that they knew at each meal you need to make sure you've got like at least one of these. I think the chart got dirty or something because it was just printed out and stuck on the cabinet, and then I never reprinted it, but I need to do that now that we're talking. So,
Yeah, we did something like that too after school. So with their snack, they pick something from each of their categories. So again,
yeah.
it just puts the power in their hands, right? Like I can pick a fun snacky food, but I'm also going to pick a protein to go with it and a fruit. So
Yeah.
we do things like that too.
I think that reminds me, yesterday I was taking only one of my daughters to school. Two of mine stayed home yesterday because there was bad weather and stuff. One of them wanted to go to school. So I was taking her to school, and I told her they were going to have an early dismissal right before lunch. And I said, you can eat lunch at home today because you're getting out early. And whenever you come home, you need to make sure that you do this and this, eat this snack, whatever, because I have some work to do. I had a call to hop on after that. The call didn't happen because, of course, they were running all over the place and not letting me have time. But she started asking me, she was like, why do I need to eat that? Why do I need this? And I was like, okay, first of all, it doesn't matter who your kid is. They're going to ask why a million times. But I was like, I'd literally tell you this every single day, why it's important to eat this and this. But to your point, like incorporating it daily with each meal, and not even when you're eating, but like having the chart system and stuff, like that instills that more. And I'm hoping that if I try to do some of those things you're doing, it might cut back on her asking why,
Right.
you know? Yeah. But Kara, I know that so many women struggle with infertility and really just feels like their bodies are failing them, I'm sure. Personally, I have never struggled with that, and I'm very thankful for that, but I've had so many close friends, and just I know so many people do. How do you really help your clients shift their mindset and regain trust with their bodies?
Yeah, that's a big one. I think it's a lot of reframing work, right? When we are experiencing infertility, we really feel like our body is just turned against us. As women, this is what we're designed to do, right? We're designed to have kids, to procreate. It's supposed to be easy. And then it's not, right?
Yeah.
So, what I talk about with my clients is that in reality, your body is always looking out for you. That's its number one job. It is always looking out for you, and it's hard to believe it, but for whatever reason, your body feels like it needs to protect you right now. It feels like it needs to prioritize something else and not procreation. It's not safe to conceive for whatever
At that
reason
time.
at that time. And
Yeah.
so that's really like a main tenet of functional men, right? Is going on this like deep dive to figure out why is our bodies sending us this message. I talk a lot with clients about symptoms being information. We're so quick to want to get rid of a symptom. We feel something, we want to make it go away, but really symptoms are our greatest gifts because they tell us what our body needs. And infertility is a symptom. Our body is saying, something is not safe right now, and we need to explore what it is and restore balance. So I try to help women really see it that way and say, okay, our body is saying that we need to go on this mission right now and figure out what is imbalanced here and how can we do that instead of disassociating. Women are so quick. I do it too. We're so quick to just look for everyone else to guide us. Oh, what supplement should I take? What should I eat for breakfast? And we don't tap into that intuition of ourselves. But really, when I ask a lot of my clients, why do you think? What do you think is going on? A lot of times they have that inner wisdom and they have an idea of what it might be. And then we use that to really gain some momentum and start exploring different things. So that's
I
like where I
bet.
would start. Yeah.
I love that. I've spoken with a few other providers who do a lot of work related to infertility and have had their own struggles, but I've never had it worded the same way that you did. And I just love that because even somebody on the outside of infertility, like not struggling with it previously, I see people struggling with it and just the pain they go through. But really turning it into, okay, like it is a symptom. What is my body saying to me? With other symptoms, like I've learned through my own journey, that's what these symptoms are. They're signals. Like at first, I've been quick to say, oh, what's going on? I need to run to the doctor. But then once I became the provider, I was like, what do you tell people? You can't do anything about this sometimes. These symptoms are signals to our body, but I've never really thought of infertility like that. And so that's really a different perspective for me. I really like that. Now, and I agree. Like, I've had some friends who have dealt with infertility, and we might be praying for each other, praying for them through that. And a lot of times it's, I've been really stressed and we're going through a move right now, and my husband and I aren't doing too great, and I'm just eating terrible because I'm working too much. Like, all this stuff's going on, and they're having fertility issues. And I'm not saying that's necessarily like the root cause, but stress, things like that do contribute. And so it's just that's your body's way of protecting you. That's just one example, but
Right.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, if you think about it, like it's a protective mechanism of your body, right? Because your body like is doing it for a reason. And if your
Yeah.
body senses any kind of danger, then it might not allow you
That's
to
awesome.
reproduce, right? So think about if you're really busy at work and you're very stressed and you're under eating, your body doesn't know that like you're intermittent fasting or like you're under eating because you're really
Yeah.
busy at work. It thinks, oh, maybe there's a famine coming. Like maybe there's a
Right.
food shortage. Like our bodies operate on this more like ancestral
Yeah.
time, right? Or if you're, exercising 7 days a week for an hour and a half every day, your body might see that stress as like your life being in danger. It might think there's a war or you're like running from some sort of physical danger. It doesn't know that you're running on your Peloton. It's like we want to send those messages of safety to our body. And I think that's a great place for people to start. It doesn't
Yeah.
solve everything, but it can really be like a foundation for people.
For sure. Yeah. Shifting the perspective for me like that is just very interesting because, yeah, if you are doing all these things like intermittent fasting, working out hardcore, these things can be great to an extent, but it's not telling your body, hey, I want to prepare to have a baby and
Right.
nurture another human being. It's really interesting to think about like that. But I know perimenopause is something that a lot of women do not think about until they are, and then they remember how old they are and maybe put two and two together. But I'm curious what you have learned from your own journey so far and how you can really help women start preparing for this transition earlier rather than right when they get into perimenopause.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Perimenopause is not supposed to be this like debilitating time, right? And we all dread it, and I'm approaching it. It is a time of intense hormone fluctuations, right? And that in and of itself puts a lot of stress and demand on the body. And so that can be just a tipping point for people for underlying imbalances that were already there. It's not necessarily the perimenopause that's the problem, but it's maybe that there are a lot of imbalances that already existed that weren't addressed. So I do agree with you
Right.
totally that I think years before perimenopause, it's great to start to get all of that in check and to really think about that. And I see that a lot with my clients early and earlier. They're really starting to think about how can I best prepare for this time.
I'm already like, okay, how can I best prepare? You
Totally.
know.
I would say some of the biggest culprits that I see that I think are areas people really need to optimize before entering perimenopause would be circadian rhythm disruptions is like a major one. So not really being on a good sleep-wake cycle, like designed with our circadian rhythm, like really not honoring that. Alcohol can be a big one.
Yeah.
Not having any movement routines in place, maybe having underlying insulin resistance is a big one, or imbalances in the microbiome, a lot of stress, chronic stress, not eating enough protein, really a lot of the foundations, right? So making
Yeah.
sure that all those foundations are in place. With my clients, I always talk about the five foundations that I think are key to work on for any starting point, and it would be nutrition, movement, stress, sleep, and your environment.
Okay,
Really.
mine's the same. I do the five foundations too. And I'm like, do we have the same foundations? I want to make sure we're on the same page, you
We
know?
are.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know. I think too, like just going back to what you said, I completely agree. And I'm also like, okay, good. I'm trying to emphasize all those things in my life. I'm working on those right now. But stress, we just, as women, as I think so many of us, especially my listeners, like we're mamas, we maybe are full-time working moms, like from home, like our job is to be a mama at home, or we have a job, whatever it is, we are go-getters. And we put more stress on ourselves than we should, but also I think we allow society to do that too, but because we keep saying yes to things and don't set those boundaries. But that just stress in general, I don't think I don't think it's defined enough. I don't know how to explain it. When I was going through my health journey, really, we're constantly in a journey, but like really started investing in myself. Once I started slowing down, I was like, oh, this is what it's like to not stress. I thought I wasn't that stressed out, but you really don't realize it till you like purposely, intentionally take a step back.
Totally. It's so funny. So just the other day, Monday of this week, I was just running around like crazy. The kids had been off the week before, and I just felt like I had so much to do. And so I took it on to get it all done. It didn't have to get all done in that day, but I was like, I got to do this, I got to do that. I got to like multitask between work and errands and the kids stuff. And I just suddenly noticed midday that like my heart was just palpitating. I was just like felt so agitated and worked up. And I think a lot of what I do with clients is like, we ignore those signals, right? That's just what we were talking about with symptoms. Symptoms, they're giving us information. Here I'm getting a symptom, it's giving me information. It's basically saying, hi, you've entered into fight flight. You
Yeah.
are in there, you are go. Do you need to be? Like, is there danger or is this kind of more
Right.
self-induced, right? And I noticed it, and your first instinct is to ignore it because you're like, I have so much to do, I can't. But it was like uncomfortable. And I ignored it. And then I said to myself, I really need to do some breath work. That's something I adopted during my fertility journey, was a breathwork practice, and I love it and I swear by it, and I really try to get clients to try it out. And I said to myself, I really need to stop for 20 minutes and do that. And I couldn't really stop because I think the problem is sometimes when you're in fight flight, the idea of slowing down and sitting down feels impossible, right? It feels very
It can add more
unnatural.
stress almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I've ignored it. And then all of a sudden the bus was coming soon. And so I was like, okay, now it's now or never. Because once the bus comes and the kids are home, I'm not doing 20 minutes of breath work, right?
Yeah.
So I did. I went into my office, I shut the door, I went on Insight Timer, which is an app that I love, and I did a 20-minute breath work practice. It transformed me. I was like in a total meditative state. I was like here, not here. When the
Yeah.
20 minutes ended, I couldn't even get out of it. I stayed there just doing the breath work by myself for another 5 or 10 minutes until finally I was like, oh, I gotta get moving.
Yeah.
And I got up from that and the heart palpitations were gone. My mood was different. It completely transformed my day. It didn't change that I was doing a lot. I got the kids from the bus. Now I had to take them here and there. I had to do homework, like
Yeah.
all the things. But it just I approached it with a completely different mindset. And I think that's like a big thing of what I try to teach clients. It's like we have to recognize these symptoms and then maybe have a practice in place where we can make the shift. All it took was 20, 30 minutes and
Yeah.
it changed the day.
I love that.
So,
That's, I mean, it's so easy too for people listening, like even 10 minutes, just whatever you can find. But to do a breath work session, you can look something up on YouTube. I know there's a lot of people out there, myself included, for a long time that was not familiar with breath work. And so you can just explore these things, just sitting there, being present, but recognizing the symptoms in your body. Like you said, you felt yourself, realized you felt uncomfortable. That's becoming more aware too. And that's something that we just don't do enough. Like we're not aware of what's going on. I love
right,
that. And I want to point out too, like this morning, I was like that. I had a doctor's appointment this morning. I went to my appointment and then I had to rush home because I wanted to be here with you on time. I ate some breakfast and I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. We're going out of town next week. And I just did a brain dump and wrote everything I needed to do down on this list. And then I was like, okay. And I can feel myself. I'm like, I have so much to do today. And then I have to take the kids to piano lessons later and then to church and like all this stuff. But every time I have a day like this and I hop on a podcast with somebody, whatever we talk about, it's okay, Lord, obviously I needed this today. So
right.
I love that because I can share this with my listeners, but my listeners, y'all don't realize like this is so beneficial and exciting for me too.
Yeah, and I tell a lot of my clients it's not about doing less because they're like, oh, I'm such a busy mom, I can't do less. It's not about that. Yes, to some degree, I think sometimes we can probably reprioritize
Right.
and maybe we're taking on too much. And maybe that's like a different issue that we need to explore. Like, why do you feel like you need to take
Right.
on so much? But for the general basic day-to-day mom, there's a lot to do. And it's not
Yeah,
about doing less, it's about like how we approach it, right? And having those tools in your toolkit. Okay, this day is getting to be a little bit too much for me physically, and I'm feeling it. Let me take a reset and then continue on with the day. I think can be a really great approach to a busy mom schedule.
for sure. And also, I think the more that we do become aware and take that time for ourselves, it does allow us, like you said, to reprioritize. And so I think in turn, we end up setting our boundaries and maybe not committing to too many things or overcommitting. A really good friend of mine has always said, you can do everything. You really can, just not at one time. And I love that because I've always been the kind of person who's, I can do anything, I can do everything. Watch me move out the way. Like, I got this, just a go getter. And the past few years, I've really had to like tone that down and be like, okay, Allison, don't be on your high horse all the time. It's okay. But whenever he told me that, I was like, that's exactly right. And that makes me feel better as a type A person. I do. I feel that deeply. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and it doesn't,
awesome.
but there's different chapters of life too. There
For
will be
sure.
a time when the kids are older and then you have maybe more time. So it ebbs and flows.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Kara, you made this major career change really from shifting to health coaching and functional medicine. What advice do you have for moms who are thinking about changing their careers or finding more balance between work and family?
My background was actually in counseling and coaching originally. So I worked as a career counselor actually for many years with college students and recent grads and people early in their careers. I love helping people figure things out, right? Like I loved helping them figure their futures out and what they were interested in and their passions. And I think once I realized that I was so interested in health and wellness, which really I always was, which is so interesting when I reflect back. I always really was interested in it, just in different ways. But when my infertility journey started, is when I really started to learn so much about health and wellness and functional medicine and this root cause approach and
Yeah.
symptomology and all this about the body. And so once I realized I was passionate about it and really felt driven to do more with it professionally, I really thought about my current career and what those transferable skills are. So I was like, what about my current career can be a really big selling point for me? And I think helping people figure things out was a really
Right.
big transferable piece. So I'm like, okay, instead of helping them figure out their career, I'm going to help them really figure out their bodies and their wellness and like what their wellness
Yes.
plan and journey could look like. And so I used that to really jumpstart myself
Yeah.
into this space. And then I also think a big helpful piece for me was I thought a lot about what also makes me different when I'm entering this new career. Like, what kind of competitive advantage do I have coming
Yeah.
from career counseling, right? What can I offer? And so I pitched it that I bring something really unique to the table, that I understand that we spend so much time at work and that can really impact our health and wellness. And also the way we show up at work can really give us insight to triggers that happen to us as kids, right? And so we could really use that to figure out like a lot about ourselves and why we, make the choices we do related to our health and wellness. So I really used it as this is why I'm unique and this is why I really should enter this new field. And it worked. So I stretch myself thin too. I'm very guilty of it, but I have a private practice where I see clients and I use a lot of my background to explain to them why I think I'm really a good practitioner in this space. But I also work in a functional medicine unit within the healthcare system. I see patients there. So I applied for a job, like a second career.
And you're in New York
I'm
for
in New
those
York.
listening. Yeah.
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 So I do that part time and then I have my clients on the side and then I'm with the kids. It's a lot of juggling, but I think working part time and then having my practice where I can really dictate my hours really helps me to maintain that work life balance because I can do things at the times that work best for me. Like when I was younger, before I had kids, the typical 9 to 5, 9 to 6 worked well. But now with the kids, it's come 3 o'clock. I'm with them in the afternoons.
Yeah.
So this gives me the ability sometimes in the evening if I need to do some things or really focus on the work day being when they're at school. So I really can adjust that way. But it's always a juggle. I'm not going to say that it's not
Right.
or that I have it all figured out. I don't think I do. I do a lot of brain dumps like you just said you did. Yeah, because I'm like really like multitasking and I try to really focus on one thing at a time. Am I focusing on my private clients? Am I focusing on the kids? Am I focusing on my other job? Like I try to really compartmentalize so I can give things 100%.
Yeah, I love that. And I think having a career that you love and are happy in makes a big difference because, yes,
Really.
it's still going to cause stress. But if anybody is anything like me, it's like sometimes going to work is your break from your kiddos, and then being with your kiddos is your break from work. So
Yes.
it's always nice to separate the two, not be in a toxic environment either way. Finding that balance, it's really, I think, just about enjoying what you do too,
Yeah.
for sure.
And I'm 42. Like it took me a while to figure that out and that's okay. Not everyone finishes college or high school or whatever education they do and has their whole life planned.
Oh yeah. And I love that you like used to be a career coach in that realm and help people when they got out of college and stuff. That's funny. Just when I went to college first, my first bachelor's degree was in visual art, and I was a freelance artist, wanted to do that. But then I also was like, I really don't want to make that a career because I don't want to suck the fun out of it and feel like I have to make art because it
Yeah.
was such an experience, like a creative experience to me. I never was in it for the money, obviously. I don't think any artist goes into it for the money. But all that to say, yeah, like whenever I went back to school for being in the healthcare field, that was after a full bachelor's degree. So I did go back as well. And I'm 3 kids in to my mothering life, and I'm still navigating my career and it's still growing. And so I don't think that you ever really stop doing that too. But
No, never.
yeah. Now, if you could go back and give yourself advice, like really at the start of your fertility journey, what is something that you would say?
Hmm. I know it's a really good question. That one definitely caused me some pause to really think about it. I think I would tell myself to slow down, right? I think I was so focused on the prize and getting to that end goal that I really missed the journey.
Yeah,
And the journey is really what I think shaped me, right? That's what led me to
sure.
functional medicine and health coaching. That's what made me the parent that I am today. It really did a lot for me. And it's where I think you can learn the most.
Mhm.
But it's easier said than done, right? When you're in that journey, it feels like you can't focus on anything else. So I think I would have just said to slow down and just let everything unfold as it needed to unfold. I tried really hard to control everything. I've learned with functional medicine and health coaching, there are things that you can control, and I work with clients on that, but then there are things that you can't control, and that's where you need to relinquish a little bit. I also learned on my journey that there's not one way. So I think when you go to the fertility doctors, they make you feel like there's just one way to do this and it's their way, but there's not. So I like to really empower my clients that there are other ways to do this, and a lot of it entails taking back some ownership of your health and wellness.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to point out too, you said going to a fertility doctor, sometimes it's only one way. For those listening, there's different kinds of fertility doctors. There's some that are specialized in fertility from a functional medicine perspective and do take more of a natural approach prior to maybe doing IVF or something. But then there's some who weren't trained in functional medicine and all that they were taught is IVF and different things like that. And so it's not the doctor's fault if they don't offer different solutions to you. But whenever you're searching for a provider, if you're dealing with infertility, those are things to consider, what kind of approach you're wanting to take, because there are different things out there. I know, like where I am in Mississippi, there's not functional medicine fertility specifically that I'm aware of. I've lived here my whole life. If there is, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the podcast. But I know that there are in different states. I know a lot. And so I just urge you, if you're listening, find a provider who is going to be there to support you with what you want, really.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, thanks for clarifying because when I say fertility doctors, I really mean like conventional medicine based
Yeah.
reproductive endocrinologists is what they're called. And when you think about it, it's not their fault. They're focused on getting you pregnant, right? That's their
Yeah.
mission. And they're not exploring why you're not getting pregnant in the first place because that doesn't really align with the mission of their practice.
Mhm.
So they just do what works for most. That's what they pursue. And when it doesn't work, they tell you it's a numbers game and let's keep doing it because eventually it will happen, right? But that leaves patients like me who had more complicated cases and it wasn't working, feeling like there's something terribly wrong or something that they're
Right.
missing and nobody's catching on to it. It's not bad luck, right?
Right.
It's just a different approach. And it's not the wrong approach and it works for many people. And the fact that modern medicine can do all of that, I think is amazing. It also opened my eyes to all the other things that we really need to pay attention to. There's this misconception that infertility is a hormonal disorder, right? But there's so many more mechanisms at play, not just the endocrine system. It's like blood sugar stabilization,
Right.
thyroid, adrenals, the microbiome, liver health, detox abilities, brain health, autoimmunity. so many things, oxidative stress, right? Learning about all of that is so cool, and that you can really have impact on your health when you intervene in those areas too.
For sure. And I can imagine that being a fertility patient, once again, I've never been in that situation, but I can imagine that going and having IVF treatments, or I know there's a bunch of different kinds of different treatments like that, and it not working, or you're in the process of having that done. But going home in the meantime and being like, okay, is there anything I can be doing to help this? If your doctor's not discussing like proper nutrition and, like you said, sleep habits, like all of these foundations with you, honestly, to me, it's malpractice, because all of these foundations have got to be addressed first. And if these foundations are not in place, you're less likely to conceive. And then you're almost, I don't want to say wasting your money, but for lack of a better word, you're spending this money on something that's so important to you. But if you don't have these foundations in place, it's like you're not getting as much out of it as you could.
Totally. Yeah, I totally agree. And for infertility in and of itself creates so much stress for the patient. And saying to somebody, don't stress, is one of the worst things you can say to a infertility patient.
Yeah.
But we know in functional medicine that stress has a major impact on the body. And so we still want to think about, like, how can we support the nervous system during this time in a way that meets that patient where they're at, and something that they're capable of doing and thinking about and adopting. But ignoring the stress and just like letting them be so stressed all the time is seems so counterintuitive to what we're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. Yeah. Kara, this has been such an informative episode. This has been awesome. Is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with today?
I think this was really so fun to be here. I loved it. You can follow me on Instagram if you're interested, at Kara Becker Wellness, and see a little bit more about what I do, some of the tips and strategies that I recommend. I also have a website, karabecker.com/wellness, if you want to learn more just about my practice.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to link that in the show notes for those listening. Y'all go check out what Kara does. And thanks for being here today. This was so much fun.
Thanks again for having me.
Thank you for being a part of my journey on What the Gut podcast. For a deeper dive into today's topics, head over to allisonandwellness.com/whatthegut or find the detailed show notes linked below. Hey, and don't miss out on future episodes. Hit that subscribe button, and if you love this one, please leave me a review. Let's keep the conversation going over on Instagram. Connect with me and stay updated and engaged with my awesome community. Plus, share these valuable insights with your tribe. They deserve to feel as amazing as you do. You can find me at Allison_and_wellness on Instagram. Your support means the world to me. I'm looking forward to our next awesome chat. But until then, stay curious, don't drink too much coffee, keep the vibrant energy flowing, and take care of your gut. Catch you real soon. Oh, and hey, if you're ready to dive deeper into personalized wellness, check out my one-on-one health coaching program at allisonandwellness.com. Let's make your journey to holistic health truly transformative. Hey there, it's Allison, and if you're anything like me, coffee is a non-negotiable part of your day. But did you know that most coffee is loaded with mold, toxins, and pesticides that could be messing up your gut and hormones? Yeah, no thanks. That's why I only drink Purity coffee. It's organic, tested for toxins, and it's packed with antioxidants that actually support your health instead of wrecking it. It's smooth, delicious, and best of all, it does not leave me feeling jittery or bloated. So if you're ready to upgrade your coffee game and support your gut at the same time, grab a bag of Purity coffee today. Your body will thank you. Oh, and because you are part of the What the Gut family, I've got a special link just for you. Just head to puritycoffee.com and use code AllisonGetsWell for 20% off your first order. Cheers to coffee that loves you back. Hey friend, let's talk about something real. Bloating, stomach pain, and fatigue. You do not have to live like this. I know because I was there too. I was frustrated, exhausted, and trying everything, but still felt miserable. And that's exactly why I created my Get Well one-on-one gut health coaching program. to help women like you finally get to the root cause of your symptoms, heal your gut, and feel like yourself again. No more guessing, no more Band-Aid fixes, just real, sustainable solutions tailored to your body. So if you're ready to ditch the bloating, boost your energy, and actually enjoy food without discomfort, let's do this together. Head to AllisonGetsWell.com or reach out to me on Instagram at AllisonGetsWell to learn more and apply today. Because you deserve to feel good in your body every single day.